Hey, Bruin fans, this is David Singleton, and you're listening to the Once Bruin Show. Go Bruins.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show network, with your hosts, Jake Berryfield and Mike Regalado, and occasionally some friends, talking all things UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello, and welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Merrifield, and it's a very special night tonight because we have a lot of guests. But first and foremost, I got my co-host here, Mike Regalado.
What's up, y'all?
From Bruin Report Online. Thank you very much, Mikey, for being here. And, a bunch of wonderful guests, two of which I was on their show, and they were on our show just a couple weeks ago. And that is none other than Michael Castillo and Alicia Derritola from Reign of Troy.
What up?
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
I'm happy that UCLA won.
I'm happy that UCLA won.
They're always happy that UCLA wins, and I love them for that. Thank you. Welcome back to the show. And if you didn't hear me on their airwaves and on our joint podcast that was just on the feed a couple weeks ago, please go back and listen to that because it's always fun to be on Reign of Troy Radio and vice versa. And also, a return after, when's the last time you were on the show, Jim? It's been since last year.
I think it was a year ago, right?
It's been last year.
A year ago in studio.
Yeah.
But
I think you were on somewhere in between.
since then, yeah.
But it is none other than the Godfather, Jim Bendat. He's a retired public defender. He's an author of Democracy's Big Day. He is probably the biggest college football fan I've ever met in my life, and he's got the street cred to prove it because he's been to literally like every important game of the last since he retired, basically, including some national championship games, plural, yes, and pretty much every big game Bama's been in. Jim, welcome back to the show, Godfather.
Great to be here and getting to meet Michael and Alicia for the first time.
For the very first time. I love that. No, it's great. It's great to bring you guys all together. And, some of my favorite people in the What's Bruin studios right now, and we are happy to have them. Today on the slate, of course, it is the What's Bruin Show on the What's Bruin Show Network. Thank you for your support. You can see us on the Twitter and all that stuff, or whatever it's called now, Michael, at What's Bruin Show. Our Substack is whatsbruin.substack.com, patreon.com/whatsbruinshow for just a little bit. How much, Mike?
$2.
$2.
Just $2, or whatsbruinshow.com. And you can get the show on YouTube. Just search for the Bruin stuff and go for the UCLA stuff, not the stupid Boston stuff. And also, you can call the hotline, 805-399-4WBS.
Suck it, Reign of Troy.
Suck it, you guys. Suck it.
Suck it, Reign of Troy.
You know, I got
Godfather.
a Twitter message that was saying that for the first time when you were on the show, somebody realized that we weren't saying West Bruin Show, that we were saying What's Bruin Show.
That's funny.
And that they were like, oh, it's clever.
That is funny.
So.
Oh, look at that. Well, suck it, all you guys over there. They're ready to try. But anywho, tonight, Mike, Bruin Report Online is unable to really report anything about Bruin practice because there's no practice to report
Bruin
on,
Report.
right?
Nobody can report about it.
Nobody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Bolch, you,
OC Register.
the Anarchist, James Woods. It's not James Woods. What's my guy's name? James from the USA Today or whatever. We love him to death. I can't think of his name. This is a podcast with Josh
Williams.
James Williams, yeah.
Yes.
Nobody can report anything because practice is closed as hell. And it's just a dreadful
Well, it's not
circus.
closed. We just can't talk about it.
Whatever it is, not much to report as far as like spring camp or fall camp goes and all that stuff, right?
Whatever we
To be-
saw,
to be
we
fair,
didn't see.
He says he can't talk about it, but can you make body gestures? Oh, that. Okay. He's doing
Spilling
stuff
some
over
deep
here.
stuff.
He's
but
really
Wow.
good at charades.
Yeah.
The rest of you are going to have to wait
Oh.
till the season starts.
Yeah, well-
Sorry about that, guys. It's just our
570 words. First word is.
All right. But anywho, we're not going to talk a lot about specifically UCLA today because we have this panel of wonderful people here. We're really just going to get more into the broad strokes of the B1G, the Big Ten, this year with all the many, many teams like a Technicolor Dreamcoat of colors out there with those helmets. And we're going to kind of put the Big Ten into our own tiers, however you guys want to break it down. But we kind of did a little bit of this on the Reign of Troy show that I was on to a degree, but I think this is the first time we're looking at all the teams all together and trying to see how it kind of shakes out throughout the season. I think, Michael, you broke up your teams into a couple different tiers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jim, did you kind of do the same sort of exercise? Or you just have it up in your brain as to how you think they're gonna, the top teams are gonna finish. I know about you, Penguin. Jim, what was your process on this? Thinking about how the Big Ten's gonna play out.
Planning to wing it tonight.
That's good. That's no problem at all. Alicia,
All vibes.
good. And then Mike religiously filled out his
I got hard
schedule.
notes, bro.
Helmet schedule, every win, every loss on the schedule, and matched them all up against each other to make sure it all worked out. And I'm somewhere in between, him and Jim probably on that. But first of all, there was a little note news I want to get your guys' opinion on, and it was the Big Ten floating out that story that they want to go to a 64 team playoff now. No, it was what was it, 24?
24.
Or
Stupid. The
28.
Big Ten can go
or
to hell.
28. Yeah. What
Why
were
not
your
do 32?
What were your guys' thoughts on this? Start with you, Michael. When you saw that story out there, after we thought we were just going to have to be arguing about 12 and 16, to have that big of a number thrown out there, what does it make you feel about the conference that represents all of us? Big sigh.
That's a sigh. Yeah. I do not want the playoffs to continue to expand. We just got to 12. Why do we need to keep going up and up and up and up and up? We know why. It's so that the schools can make more money, and then use that money to pay more players, and then use the better players to win more games.
So the others can transfer somewhere else.
That, and then they can go to more playoff games and then make more money, and then just keep going back over and over and over again. I look at it two ways. One, do I want more college football? Yeah, I always want more college football. At the same time, do you think this is going to do literally anything? No. You're going to have blowouts in the first round and second round. I don't think we're improving the product. We're just adding more games to sell fans more games that they can't afford to go to.
I think that's a fair take. Godfather, what was your impression of this?
Well, at first, my first reaction was, is this an April Fool's joke?
Right.
That was my first. But in thinking about it a little more, part of the suggestion of going to 24 teams or whatever was that we would do away with the conference championship games. Now, that would probably be a positive.
Yeah.
And if you just had more games to during that week, after that week, we would be getting down probably to 16 teams, which would probably be the same anyway.
Right.
So
it's not a whole lot. It's not
That's
a big
fair.
stretch. Not a whole lot different. I kind of, Mikey, what did you think? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I saw it and I didn't even read it. I was like, this is bullshit. This is absolute crap because, yes, the problem with just voting with the AP and the coaches is that sometimes you had split champions and people didn't want co-champions. So then there was the BCS which was supposed to decide the champion outright. And then there were problems with that. And then they finally go to a playoff, which a lot of people wanted. And it's like, okay, this is fine. 4 teams. Then you expect, or was it 14? What was the first one? 4 teams, right? It was 4. And then it's now to 12, which I thought was stupid. I was like, just go to 16. If you are going to expand to 3 rounds, at least just go to 16, which it looks like it's going that way. At that point, just stop because it's just kind of like watering it down. And as we saw last year, there were just blowouts. And it was just bizarre with both the automatic bids and like legit conference champions, especially the ones from the Power 5, or basically the Power 2 now. And it's like, I understand we need to have, we did well this year and we need a bid in the playoffs. It's like, well, no, you didn't win your conference. You lost 2 or 3 games. No, you do not get to get in. This is just way too damn much now.
Penguin.
Oh, you go ahead. You have a thought.
Yeah, well, what amazed me was they went right from 4 to 12. What happened to 8?
Oh, that's what I was.
Would've been the ideal,
8
by
might
the
have
way.
been a good
Well, they
number.
never should have gone to 4 in the first place. It should have been 5 or 6.
Yes.
Instead, they just chose to strangle the Pac-12 to death.
Well, if you have 8, then everybody's playing the same number
Exactly.
of games.
But I mean, they went to 4, and it automatically was going to strangle out one of the conferences, and that's
Right.
what it ended up killing the Pac-12. And now here we are. Penguin, what do you think about that?
On the surface, because I know that it will, if they do go to 24 or whatever the number they choose, it will be done the same way that the 4 to 12 to 16 sort of process went, which means that it won't be done like properly. There is a world where it is done properly, and like we talked about, like you can get rid of the conference championship games, you can make create more uniformity among conferences and balance among conferences and realignment and all that kind of stuff. I think there is a universe where that actually is a beautiful way to go. I don't trust anybody involved in the decision-making process to actually come up with the beautiful solution. It will simply be an excuse to get half of the teams in the SEC and half of the teams in the Big Ten into the playoff field, which I think is silly to begin with. So, yeah, not for me.
No, and it's funny too. Like I heard, I think a friend of the show, Wayne Cook, was talking about this, and he was saying that, well, them floating out there the 24 team thing was kind of just a way to soften everybody up to the 12 to the 16 team thing, and I kind of buy that argument a little bit. And also, 12 and 16 to me are kind of interchangeable. I don't really think it doesn't add a round. It just takes away buys or something. So I'd be fine with that. But 24 just seems like too much. Although I pick up what the Godfather's putting down.
I look at it as, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get a national champion? If you're trying to get a national champion, I don't think going to 24 helps. Are you trying to give more teams an equitable shot? Then yes, I think going to 24 helps, especially when you compare it to the NBA. There's like, 22 teams in the NBA or whatever it is go to the playoffs of some sort because of a stupid play-in tournament. Yeah, compare that to college football, and it's a joke how few of teams actually get in. But I think the difference is the parity in professional leagues is so much more like there for the 20th team versus the first team, like could go on a run and could win the NBA title. The 20th team in college football is not going to win the national championship. Like the divide between the top 5 and the top 10 is huge.
The 10th is probably not going to win the national title.
Yeah, and then you go from the 10th to the 25th is huge. Like the divide is too big at that level to actually provide a pathway for those teams to win.
It also waters down what a team actually does in the regular season. And we've talked about this during basketball season. That's why I understand having a conference tournament champion get an automatic bid, but if a team that gets hot in the last month of the season gets an automatic bid as opposed to someone who's been hot in the entire, it's just like it demeans what that one team who's been pretty badass for an entire season and rewards a team who maybe they got a player back or they changed a scheme or something just worked that they all of a sudden got hot, and like an 8th place team can win the tournament and then go to the playoffs, which if they didn't win, they probably wouldn't.
And I totally get that argument. But for me, it's like, yeah, I could see how you could say that 64, 68 is too much for college basketball. But then again, college basketball is a completely different sport where you could have 1 or 2 guys.
You have like 300.
No, I know, but my point is,
and there's 300 teams.
I think it takes away the efforts of what you did in the regular season.
That's fine, but there's got to be 24 isn't 64 or 68. I'm not in favor of 24, by the way. But I mean, like to have 16 teams out of the 120 there are in college football. To me, I think that they have to consider representing more teams in the college football playoff just because of how restrictive it was. And if they do have the idea of wanting to have legit national champion instead of going away from the idea of having like split champions and the way it used to work back before, the BCS and all that stuff, there's nothing wrong with, in my opinion, with having 16 teams. Even if they went to 24, I don't like it, but even if they went to 24, just because then it's settled on the field and no one can say that it wasn't settled on the field, and anything you can do to take away from outside panel or whoever judging who is worthy, it gets settled on the field, it's okay by me, even if we all know that only the top 5 teams have a chance of winning.
If they go to 16 teams, that's going to mean the top 8 are all going to get a home game, and that would be a positive. I think everybody loved the home games last year. There were just 4, and there was the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th seeds who got the home games. I'm sure the top 4 kind of wish that they could have gotten a home game. So if we go to 16, that will happen. If they went to 24, there'd be even more home games. I don't like it, but at least 16, lots of home games, and those are positives. 2
points on that. You said it to me. If it goes to like 24 teams, that does feel like a 64 team. 64 team playoff in basketball, because there are 300 basketball teams, 130 football. Like, just for me, anything outside the top 8 really doesn't deserve to get into the playoffs. There's a reason you're in the top 8. You've probably been in the top 8. And that would be good to have 8 teams having a home game, but I don't want to see that. I want to see and I'm more of a traditionalist. I do love bowl games, but I also feel that this is a way to decide an actual champion. I just want it as simple as possible. 16, I think, is what is. I still think that's a little too much. I think 8 would have been perfect, but I think 16, they shouldn't go beyond that.
I think 24 makes logical sense. It feels like the antithesis of what college football is.
Yeah.
That we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that it's strictly for money, and I think the other reason is that this is a way to eliminate any chance that the group of 5 has to do anything. Because what they will do is they'll have it to where 4 group of 5 teams can make it, but they'll all be in the first week, and they all have to go and play on the road against Indiana, and they're all going to get absolutely jiggle-bagged by whatever team that they're playing against that's the 12th seed that's going to host them.
But
and then you go to the second week.
They still get to play.
But this gets to the thing. The problem is not the size of the playoff field. The problem is the size of FBS. There should not be 136 FBS teams. The system makes no sense. So the playoff makes no sense, and the playoff will continue to make no sense whether you go to 24 or 32 or whatever it is, because your division is simply too large, too bloated, and then you add to the problem of your conferences are too large and too bloated and too irregular. So all of this is just going to be they go to 24, and there's still going to be the same problems that there would be with 16, with there would be with 12, that there would be with 8, which is kind of why I'm like, well, screw it. I don't really care at this point. There are 47 bowl games at this point. Find a way to turn all 47 bowl games into playoff games, and whatever that field looks like, then go for it, I guess. But the whole system it needs to be blown up, and it's not going to get blown up. And so no matter what they do, it's going to be completely illogical and silly.
But that's the thing, though, is that we know it's not going to get blown up. We know there's too many people that have their own, there's too many schools that have their own motives behind it, and we know to a degree, the playoff could expand, but they're not going to dismantle the whole thing and start over. We had this talk about this on your show. They're never going to do the relegation thing and all that stuff. So it's I want to deal with the stuff of what is likely to happen or what is the most fair given the confines of the system now. And I agree with Mike too. I don't think you need more than 8 teams in the playoff, but that's assuming that we still have the championship games, right? You have the championship games, and that kind of pares it down for the 8 teams that make it for the most part. I know there's exceptions, but that's why I think that 12 or 16 is probably the happy spot, because then you can throw out enough for the group of 5. You can have the spot there for Notre Dame if they're any good, and then you have the major conferences, the big 2, and then the lesser 2 represented well. And then, like I said, I have no problems with an 8-4 team being in the playoff in my mind if it's from one of the big conferences, because it's they're going to have to play on the field anyway, and they're going to and the odds of them winning 3 rounds and winning the national title are nil, absolutely nil. So I'm not worried about that, But they should, if an 8-4 team wins a conference or comes in number 2 in a conference, they should be in the freaking playoff, and that's fine.
That'd be awesome if an 8-4 team wins a conference. But to your point, I also don't want to see 3 or 4 SEC teams in the top 8 just because they think that they're the top conference and that they deserve, all those spots. It's just
how do you feel about the how they rank the teams going into the playoff, Godfather? Because that's kind of where I feel like I made this argument to Ray and Troy before, and I don't care about the confines on the bottom of it, because to me it doesn't matter anyway. They don't really have a good chance to win the national title. I think they're just letting them in to participate. But as far as the top of the pecking order, I think it's really important that you define what the Big Ten get, and you define what the SEC gets when they go in, so that way they just stop trying to constantly rally to have more and more and more teams in there. You just say, okay, well, the Big Ten gets 4 and the SEC gets 4, and then you go from there and let them fight it out.
Well, that'd be interesting to have limits.
You have an automatic 4, and I don't care if that 4th SEC team is 6-6, they still get in, because that's what the parameter is. But at least then, the SEC can tout how great they are. 4 guys get in. The Big Ten can 4 guys get in. And to me, that makes more sense.
I would like that.
Yeah, but
limits on
at 24. It's not 4. At 24, it's 8.
Oh yeah.
We're not talking about 24. We're saying this 12-16 or whatever, which is what we're at now. Godfather, I want to hear from you.
Well, it's kind of like the Champions League in soccer. I mean, England automatically gets, it used to be 4, now I think it's 5 teams, automatic. Nobody's complaining about it. The Champions League is still great.
But
So
they determine that like based
There's a
on merit.
formula.
Like there's a formula and a coefficient.
Exactly.
That's what we should have in college football. But like that'll never happen because the Big Ten doesn't want to leave the chance that the ACC might end up being the great power conference 5 years from now.
Well, you're talking about basing it on history.
Yeah.
You're basing it on history. The ACC and the Big 12 don't deserve very many teams.
They
For
don't.
sure.
They should be happy if they've got 2 automatic.
And if you want to see you
qualifiers.
revisit the criteria every 10 years or whatever, it's fine. But that's the thing. Like that's we'll wrap it up here on this in a minute. But the main thing that just sticks out to me like a sore thumb is if you ask 100 people that know anything about college football who the best conferences are, it's to say name the 2 best conferences. They're going to say 100 out of 100, not 99 out of 100. 100 out of 100 are going to say Big Ten, SEC. And then you say, okay, well, who are the next 2 best conferences? 100 out of 100 are going to say the Big 12 and the ACC. There's no debate or argument. Everybody knows the Big 10 and the SEC are better than the Big 12 and the ACC, and everybody knows that the Big 12 and the ACC are better than the other group of whatever conferences at this point. And that might not be the same thing 10 years from now, but right now it absolutely is an absolute fact. So base your playoff based on pulling out of that. Go from there.
Well, I guess then my question is, I know that we would base your playoff off of what it looks like right now, but what does going to a 24-team playoff, and I ask this genuinely because I don't know, what does going to a 24-team playoff or even a 16-team playoff do to the current structure of conferences? Does it make it more likely that the Big 12 stays as it is? Does it make it more likely that the ACC stays as it is, or are we just going to go to a 24-team conference, a 24-team playoff, and then the ACC dissolves because Florida State and Clemson decide that they're going to jump to the SEC, and all of the reshuffling that happens, and then you're just going to end up with the 2 super conferences that are inevitable beating a 24-team playoff.
That's why I think if you define what the SEC, and the Big Ten get, it's going to help solidify the Big 10 or the Big 12, and the ACC, because then those teams, like if you say. And for me, I think the ideal would be 16 for me because you go 4 Big 10, 4 SEC, 2 Big 12, 2 ACC, and then the rest are Notre Dame if they're good, and then the rest are group of wherever teams.
Can I just chime in?
Please.
This is a UCLA podcast, right?
It is.
SC and UCLA are never going to the playoff anyways in our lifetimes, probably.
That's
not
the
true.
sad,
why
sad,
are we
sad thing.
discussing this?
Why is the USC fan in the room saying that though? Like
He's wearing a Michigan
Who's
hat.
wearing a
this is
Michigan
true,
hat?
he's wearing a
I'm just saying, like
he's down bad.
Well,
Are
I
you,
do-
are you
we do
wearing
need to
Ole
wrap
Miss
it up and get to
boxers
it,
as
but,
well, bro?
Everybody look, say cheese for the selfie, or the Ussie.
The funny
There we
thing
go.
is if we had gone to the 16-team playoff or any version of the playoff that wasn't 4 teams before the dissolution of the Pac-12, the Pac-12 would still be alive and well because you would have ended
Well,
up in a situation.
That's why I was so mad about the 4. It needed
Well,
to be
yeah,
5 or
because
6.
you could have given the SEC 4 and the Big 10 4. You could have given the Pac-12 2 or 3 or whatever, and the USC's, Washington's, Oregon's of the world would have been perfectly happy with that reality.
I get you. All right. Well, look, I think we all agree 24 is too much at this point.
Yeah.
But I think we all agree that, hopefully we all agree 12 to 16 is going to be fine, and that's where we're at now. Let's put a pin in that. Okay, so let's get to talking about the Big Ten, what we think about the Big Ten. I want to just round the room real quick. This year in the 12-team playoff, how many Big Ten teams do you expect to be in? And tell me who your Big Ten playoff teams will be. If you want to do them in order, that's fine, or whatever. I'm gonna start with you, Michael. Give me your how you slated your playoff teams.
There's 3 absolute locks: Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon.
Should we just all agree that that's what we all think?
Yeah.
Like I
I
have a
agree
hard
that-
time.
That's what I got.
Like I don't think there's a world in which one of those 3 doesn't make it. Like
Yeah.
they just seem like absolute locks, right? And then you've got the next tier, which is like the playoff upshot tier that I'm calling, which is Michigan, Illinois, Indiana. Like, pick one of those to be the team to be the 4th team in. That's like the 11th seed because they had a favorable schedule that ended up breaking their way and they went 10-2. Like, pick one of those.
So right now, I mean, you guys haven't done your predictions for USC on your
No,
show
we're
yet,
doing
yeah?
it Monday.
You're doing that Monday.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now, well, does anybody disagree that you can pretty much lock Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon into the playoffs? Anybody have a dissenting
I think
opinion?
we're good
I
on
was
that.
I
The
was only gonna
Godfather. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was
First,
just
Alicia.
gonna say I was thinking about saying that if Moore doesn't work out at Oregon, if the quarterback situation is a wreck at Oregon, then maybe you take Oregon out.
God, that would be
Until
great.
I looked at their schedule, and I'm not taking Oregon out anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly what I thought too, Alicia, because I looked at Oregon and it's like, you look at the schedule. Let me pull it up over here, and it just seems like it's very easy. You know, they're going to start Montana State, Oklahoma State, at Northwestern. Sorry, Godfather. I feel like they're going to win that game. Then they take on the Beavers, go Beavers, and then at Penn State's like the big game on their schedule. Like
But
that's
they
going
can
to be
lose it. It doesn't
that's the
matter.
one that they're
But
going to
they'll
probably
have
lose.
to lose 3 games at least
Yeah.
to be out of the field. And
They
who
host-
are the other 2?
They host Indiana
I only
at
have them
Rutgers,
losing at-
Wisconsin, at Iowa, maybe I guess
At
Minnesota.
Iowa would be the danger zone spot, I think.
Host SC and at Washington. I mean, I think the at Washington and the
Rivalry, yeah.
and the at Iowa are the tough ones. But I agree with you, Alicia, because I wanted them to struggle. Because I don't think Moore's going to be as good as they hope he's going to be, but he still might be pretty good. But that schedule's really light. Godfather, you were going to say who's not a lock?
I agree with everything Alicia said about Oregon. I think they're a question mark. They lost a lot of people, and we don't know about Dante Moore. We just don't know. He's got a little bit of a history, and it wasn't so great. So we'll see.
And he even didn't play that much last year.
Correct. Didn't play.
I mean, when you have Dylan
Just-
Gabriel.
Just mop-up time.
Yeah.
I think a team that should definitely be on the second tier is Washington. I think Washington has a good quarterback. They've got other good people. They were starting to get a little better last year, but last year was Jed the Fish's first year there, and so he came in late. I think they're going to be better. And
Their
and I wouldn't
schedule's nice,
I
too.
agree that Washington is going to be better, but I don't like their schedule.
And
See, I disagree. What's wrong with their schedule?
They get Ohio State, they get at Michigan, they get Oregon, and they have to go to they have to go at UCLA, which I think will be interesting at that time of the year.
They have 4 ranked opponents on their schedule. They host 3 of them. If they win one of those 3, and then go chalk everywhere else, like there's a 10-2 there.
All right, that's fair.
That's what I was thinking. And you
I
know
don't
what?
see. I don't see
And
that.
you know
at
what?
all. I mean,
Even if they like, there's a 9-3 at least. Like I think they can do it.
Mikey, stand by. Jim.
Second tier. I hate to say it, but SC's in the second tier. It's very possible. Now, I'm not totally thrilled about the abilities of their quarterback.
Yeah.
But he did win 3 out of 4 last year. He's not bad. And they've got some people coming in. Got some experience.
Okay.
Their schedule isn't terrible. They don't play Ohio State. They don't play Penn State. That's not a terrible schedule. Yes, they have to play at Notre Dame. They have to play at Oregon. So they got some tough ones there. Illinois is probably overrated.
I agree.
We'll see.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Going back to the playoff teams, Godfather, were you saying that Oregon was the one that's probably exposed to not being a lock for the playoff? Is that what you're thinking? What's the worst case scenario for Oregon in your opinion?
Well, I think if you lose 3 games, you might not make it. Last year, there were no 3 lost teams who made the playoff.
Right.
That could easily happen again.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I kind of am picking up what Alicia's putting down is that I don't see Oregon losing that many games just based on the soft of the schedule.
The question mark for me with Oregon's schedule is how good is Indiana? Because I think Kurt Signetti is a really good coach, and I think Indiana could be really good again. The bottom could also fall out, and it could be with Illinois and Indiana. It could just be that they had sort of a magical rosters that they can't maintain that. So is Indiana as good as they were this past year? Then yeah, if Oregon has quarterback problems, I know they're hosting, but that's still.
I'm curious how Fernando Mendoza.
I mean, I like Fernando Mendoza
turns
a
out.
lot.
Like I watched a lot of his games, and I think he's pretty darn good. But we'll see.
I think Indiana's schedule sort of helps them out here. I know we're going to talk about schedules a lot, but they have to go on the road to Iowa. That sucks. They have to go on the road to Oregon. That sucks. They have to go on the road to Penn State. That sucks. Every other game, they host Illinois. I think they beat Illinois. Iowa is always tough on the road, but if Indiana does the thing they did last year, which was beat every team that they can beat, all the beatable teams, to me, that's the hardest thing to do in college football is to clean sweep all the beatable opponents that you face. And if Indiana does that again, then
9 wins.
Yeah.
I think
they
that's-
won't do
I think that's fair.
yeah, because it's hard to do that.
because
Yeah.
Tino isn't there anymore.
That's
Yeah.
right. He's over in Westwood, and we love that. So hold on. I want to rewind it a little bit. I want to just take one more beat on the what we're going to label as our playoff locks, even though I think we agree that if the schedule were worse, we think Oregon would be in more danger of that. But we already talked
Oregon's
about Oregon,
the third of the three.
and I agree with
Clearly
that
third.
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. But
Really quickly, I want to ask, just really quickly, interject. So those are our 3 locks.
no, I want to talk about those two teams though, and then I want to get to the question you're about to ask.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about Penn State and Ohio State because we totally didn't even mention them at all. And I
Yeah.
want to talk about the teams that are pretty much juggernauts in the conference this year. Who do you like better, Penn State or Ohio State coming into this year? Ohio State, the national champion reigning, but they had a lot of turnover. Penn State seems everybody came back. They're almost they're on the cusp of going to the title game, but not. But everybody's back, including Aller and all that stuff. So, Mikey, I'll start with you. Like Ohio State, Penn State, which one do you think? Like they're going to be a lock for the playoff, I think, unless something goes horribly wrong for both of them. But which one do you prefer this year?
I think Penn State has a chip on their shoulder, and with Alar, I really like his play, and and the fact that they bring back a lot of guys is going to be huge for them. Losing to Ohio State and Michigan, like a combined 6 times in the last 3 seasons, something like that. They just have not had their number. But I think this year, this is probably one of the best teams that what the coach
Franklin.
Thank you. This is one of the best teams that he's had, and I think that they're just going to come out, swinging. Ohio State, as much as I hate to say it, losing Chip Kelly is going to be, well, yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. I think that is going to be big because I did like some of their schemes. Sometimes it was head scratching, but Chip Kelly has always been head scratching. But he put together a really good. The thing with Chip Kelly is that he knows his players, and he knows how to utilize them. At UCLA, he did exactly that, except he didn't have 5- and 4-star players because he didn't do the work. The 5- and 4-star players were basically given to him, and thus he all he needed to do was put a scheme together, and boom, national championship. So I think that just brings Ohio State down just a little bit, just enough for Penn State to get in there.
I think that's totally fair. I feel like Penn State's like the team of destiny this year based on all the things that are lining up in their favor, and I'm kind of leaning towards Penn State. Alicia, what do you think? I would love to see them fall, though, by the way, but I feel like they're the team of destiny.
If there are no James Franklin doubters in the world, then I'm dead.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Give me Ryan Day over James Franklin every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
And I would agree with that.
I totally buy the Penn State team of destiny. I was looking at ESPN's top 100 players for the season going in, and Penn State has like 50,000 of them.
Right.
Penn State has a loaded roster.
That's a weird number, 50,000 out of
I just feel like Penn State is
Penn
Ohio
State-
State from last year.
Penn
Like
State
everything
had-
lined up for Ohio State last year, and then they had their little loss, but then they came storming back in the playoff.
Right, but Ohio State is not Penn State still, like
Oh,
psychologically.
yeah. Psychologically, absolutely.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I do not trust Penn State to
Sometimes it's not so happy in that
and-
valley.
No, and like maybe this is coming from the perspective of a USC fan who watched USC lose a lot of games and watched
Those are good
USC
games.
should have beaten Penn State, like I am skeptical about Penn State because Penn State let USC run all over them.
You guys
Like,
have a very abusive relationship with Penn State.
I do have a very
Yeah.
abusive relationship, but like Penn State,
It's like us
USC
in Wisconsin.
USC matched up with Penn State in the trenches in that game.
I think Ron Dane just
that's
scored again, by the way.
crazy.
Shut the hell up, Michael. I will punch you in the face.
USC couldn't match him in the trenches against freaking Maryland, but they did it against Penn State. Like, I don't know. I am skeptical of Penn State. I remain it. And I was looking at their schedule and I was like, okay, well, their schedule is pretty good. But the thing is, like, yes, they get their tough games at home, but it's not like they never lose their tough games at home. They always
true.
lose whatever tough games they are at, home or away.
Don't they play Ohio State in Columbus this year?
Yes. No.
At Ohio State.
Yeah, they're at Ohio State.
That's
so,
the
like,
toughest game on the schedule.
yes.
Yeah.
But, like, it just feels like their schedule is set up that they can avoid the 10-2 and go 11-1. So I do think they are a playoff lock. But if you had to ask me which team I'm putting money on to win anything this year, it's Ohio State. I'm not putting a dime on Penn State.
Ohio State's a safer bet because they just won the national championship and we've seen them do it. We haven't seen Penn State do it. I agree with Jake. Everything lines up for Penn State. Bring back 14 starters. They have the best quarterback probably in the country. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of defense. All these kind of things, and they do not stub their toe. They never stub their toe. They only lose to elite teams. And last year they go 13-3, and those are 3 one-score games against the number 1 team in the country at the time, Oregon, who went undefeated in the regular season and won the Big Ten, the national champion in Ohio State, and they took Notre Dame to the wire and nearly went to the national championship game themselves. So, like, on one hand, no, I don't trust Penn State because they haven't beaten those teams.
Yeah.
And so until they beat those teams,
be the man.
Yes, you got to beat the man to be the man. At the same time, like, they just seem way more likely to be able to put together the 11-1 season to get them a number 2 seed and get to the playoff than Ohio State, which has the highest ceiling there is, but way more prone to stub their toe because Michigan or because they go Ohio State plays Texas in week 1 and that will be weird. They go on the road at Illinois. Like, they always struggle at Purdue for some, like, Ohio State's more likely to screw up than Penn State, but Ohio State is more likely to win the title. That makes sense?
You make a good point because they are an elite team, and you just said they only lose to elite teams, which is like maybe 3 or 4 teams, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And they still lose to them.
There's only a few teams that can beat them.
But at this point, are they ever going to break through? Godfather, Ohio State, Penn State. I know 2 of your favorite teams in the Big Ten. As this Godfather is the dean of Big Ten fans because he is a Northwestern alum. He's wearing a split Northwestern UCLA hat to the show today. This guy has lived the Big Ten life for many, many, many years. Many years, since the 60s, for God's sakes. He almost had Northwestern named the Purple Haze, for Christ's sakes. But he is our Big Ten guy. Godfather, tell me, Ohio State, Penn State, who do you like this year more?
For pretty much what Alicia said. Ohio State has proven that they can win the big game. Penn State, they lose all the time in their big games. Every time. It's inevitable. So suddenly they're going to beat 3 elite teams in one season. I don't think that's going to happen. They might beat somebody down the line. I think they will be a lock for the playoff. And James Franklin, I definitely don't want this guy to win anything. I've got, even on my phone, I have a whole James Franklin folder.
I love that.
Damn.
Well, you want to hear some of this?
Yes.
Okay.
Jim also used to be a lawyer, so that's where this is coming from.
The Vanderbilt stuff?
I'm so here for this.
So apparently one year they were playing Ohio State, and there was a big call on 4th and 5, and he ran the ball when it was clearly a passing situation. Of course, they didn't make it, and he had to be restrained from going after a fan after that.
I remember that.
He threw his own team under the bus after that game. He blamed the team. Then there's a game he played, Georgia State, led 56-0, and he called a timeout toward the end of the game to ice the kicker for the other team.
Very Lane Kiffin-like move.
I was just going to say that.
Penn State was playing Pitt one year, big rivalry, in-state rivalry. And what does Franklin say about that game? For them, it's like a Super Bowl. For us, it's like playing Akron.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then when he used to be at Vanderbilt, after one of his Vandy players flipped to Georgia, he said recruits who flip are not men of integrity, with air quotes there. Then he immediately flipped 9 players to Penn State as soon as he got that job, including 5 who had committed to Vandy. And I got one more.
Give me one more.
And this is the topper. He said that he would only hire assistant coaches with attractive wives.
I love that one. I got it. That's my favorite one.
Here's the quote.
Wow.
I will not hire an assistant coach until I've seen his wife. If she looks the part and she's a Division I recruit, then you got a chance to get hired.
That's creepy.
That's part of the deal.
That's creepy.
This is
Game,
the
recognized
opposite.
game.
That
Let's
is
go.
creepy.
It's the opposite of the Larry David thing, which is you respect a man with a wife that is not as attractive as him because it shows that he has integrity.
Here's my thing. If I was in charge of hiring people, I'd hire them based on merit.
Godfather. Godfather.
Oh, you're married? I don't care.
Godfather. You brought the pain on that one. Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
You're making me rethink
And-
everything.
And the funny thing is, though, is like I said, I'm sitting over here and I'm like, Penn State's going to be the team of destiny. I'm thinking they're going to, like go through, and this is the year they have to win the title. But the thing is, I don't like James Franklin. I don't like Penn State. I feel the same way about them that you do, Godfather, too. But it's kind of like one of those years where it's like, this is the year it has to happen for them. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be like, yeah, let's eat some popcorn and watch this shit fall apart. But that's the expectation that needs to be heaped onto James Franklin. The expectation that needs to be heaped onto that program. So that way, when they don't make it, then we can all just be like, see.
One little postscript on all those James Franklin
Please.
anecdotes. Do you all recall when there was discussion, there was talk that maybe SC might hire him?
Oh, I
I'm
remember
that was-
sure you
that.
We love that.
I ran into and spoke with Bill Plaschke.
Dodge that bullet.
With Bill Plaschke
That son of a bitch.
at a Bruin basketball game.
That hack.
He was there.
Yeah.
Well, he may be a hack,
Yeah.
but he writes some pretty good columns on occasion.
Not ever.
On
Not
occasion.
one good one ever, but that's okay.
Anyway, I gave him all that material, so
Yes.
if SC did go after
Well, around
Franklin,
basketball,
he was ready.
Never mind.
By the way,
it was my greatest fear, and I lived through the Clay Helton era.
I
so
want to know, honestly,
life is life.
Raina
but
Troy, I got you here right now. We could trade out James Franklin for Lincoln Riley right now.
absolutely not.
I think it's ridiculous that like
Absolutely not. Because if Lincoln Riley isn't the guy, he's just going to get fired and just let us go.
Yeah.
James Franklin is the Uber Clay Helton.
SC hasn't made the playoff. You got to be the annoying team that makes the playoff and doesn't win anything first before you can do anything.
So
Like,
wait, answer
yeah,
the question.
I think
James Franklin or Lincoln Riley?
I would take, Like if you could, yes. What?
Yes,
Why
once.
wouldn't you
Yes,
say the
once.
words?
Say it.
Say the words.
Say it.
Say the
I'm
words.
taking it. Yeah,
Take it who?
I'll take James Franklin.
Thank you
I
very
have
much.
Oh my
integrity. I will not
God.
do no such thing.
Let's talk about Clay Helton. I mean,
Clay Helton
We
Bowl's
don't have that
coming
much
up.
time.
I know.
Week 2.
Would that be awesome if Georgia Southern can come in here and
that-
win that game?
Are you trying to kill me? Are you trying to?
What's the buyout on
He's-
Lincoln?
He's such a fine gentleman.
Yeah. Also,
Oh, he's a
he-
wonderful person.
Also,
There
he
you
agreed
go.
to
It
that.
sucks.
That's why he
That-
should have
because I
stayed.
can't
Was-
root
was
against
it- was
him
this
because
game-
he's genuinely a wonderful human
was-
being.
One
it was
conversation at a
after.
time.
It was
They
after.
did schedule it, so he. Okay,
Isn't that amazing?
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay, all right.
That's awesome.
I'm holding firm. Georgia Southern will lead the game in the second quarter,
I like
and
this theory.
a lot of people will absolutely crap their pants.
Yeah.
SC wins by 35, but they trail in the second quarter just for the LOLs.
Okay, so, and I'm here for that. I'm here for that. Okay, this is the question Mike wanted to ask a couple minutes ago. Now I want to get to it. I want to go around the room, and you guys just give me, Michael, what was your second tier called? Like, what are you calling it?
My second tier is playoff upshot, but I think the tier that you're kind
No.
of
I want a playoff shot because we got our 3 locks. I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to quickly go around
All
the
right.
table and
It's
just give
getting
me
interesting.
1 or 2 teams that you think could also make the playoff in addition to Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon. If you got 4, just give me 2. But give me 1 or 2 teams you think
Yeah.
also has a shot for whatever criteria to make the playoff along with the other 3 teams. Michael, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, to me that tier is Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and I'll go with Michigan. They
Go Big Blue. He's wearing the hat, folks.
They return a lot of talent, a lot of big recruits coming in. 5-star true freshman Bryce Underwood. They won a national title 2 years ago. Obviously, Harbaugh's not there, nor is the Signs. But I don't trust Sharon Moore to be a great head coach, and especially with the true freshman quarterback. So everything you could say about Michigan is followed by buts.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Illinois. Illinois brings back only Arizona State has more returning starters in the Power 4 than Illinois. They bring back the second best quarterback in the conference, probably.
Their
They
schedule's
have a
super weak.
They have a schedule that goes in their favor. They won a bunch of rock fights last year. They just feel like a 9-3 team. They feel like off-brand Penn State, where they're going to be the 9-3 chalk team who can't beat anyone above them, but is just going to beat everyone below them by a 16-14 score, and that could get them into the playoff, I guess. But I don't know.
I totally feel that, right? And I'm right with you on the Michigan thing. And I'm real curious how Bryce Underwood goes. But I'm just struck at the fact that Michigan went from scoring 36 points in their national championship year, scoring they had the second worst offense in the Big Ten behind UCLA last year.
Yeah.
And so I'm they've got to be better than that probably.
Yeah.
But like you're rolling out a true freshman, you know,
And if you're Michigan, you're looking at it and saying, well, if our offense can get just 5 points better
Yeah.
and our defense stays the same, like
but it's like, can they? Because they really don't have any receivers. They lost their big tight end Loveland, and they got a true freshman at quarterback, and they're probably able to run the ball, but that's about it, in my opinion. So it's like, can they get 5 points better? But I agree with you, Michigan. You know, I have them 10-2, but it's just because I think that more schedule and more just the Michigan of it. I don't know, Alicia, give me one or two other playoff contenders.
All right. So Michael said Michigan
And Illinois.
and Illinois. I will then go USC and Nebraska because I think those are both in the same tier for me.
Give me your Nebraska take,
Nebraska is entering year 3 under Matt Rule.
which is always a
And
big
in
year.
year 3, Matt Rule just wins double-digit games. That's just what he does. And can he do it at Nebraska this time around? You know, it's Nebraska's trauma runs quite deep, and maybe it's too big of a challenge for him. But he has a quarterback with talent that if he can get more out of him.
Did you guys see Rayola last year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
USC played him.
Yeah, all right.
you mean Mahomes?
Exactly.
Lil Mahomes, yeah. So Nebraska's, I think they are an interesting team that if things go right for them, I think that there's a universe where, they are pushing for
They're
for
in my
9,
10 and
wins.
2 or 6 and 6 category.
Yeah. Oh, well, and this is
which
why
which is SC too.
this is exactly why I brought
SC is 10 and 2 or 6 and 6.
Nebraska and USC both to the table here because if things go right for USC, they could be 10 and 2. There's absolutely a universe where they're 10 and 2. If you look at the schedule, you'd pencil in losses to Oregon and Notre Dame, but the rest of the games are manageable in that they are against teams with question marks of their own. Michigan coming to the Coliseum,
I think it's
the
totally fair.
Illinois of it all, you know?
I am worried about Nebraska being like WSU, Washington State, circa Mike Leach, or USC in bad years where they lose games,
Because they
52 to
just-
45. So
Yeah.
I'm worried about the Nebraska's defense. I know they switch of coordinators. They got a horrible defensive line. Allegedly.
Nebraska and USC both have massive question marks.
But I think their schedule looks pretty
The
pretty darn
schedule
easy.
works for Nebraska. They have, I think, the potential on offense. They've recruited rather well. They have the coach who has done this before, who's been able to take his teams from one step to the next step to the next step. He knows what that process looks
Don't
like.
we always say this about Nebraska every year at the same
Yes,
time?
which is why I said their trauma runs
Since
deep.
the 70s.
Which is why I think you're correct in that they could be 10 and 2 and 6 and 6 because there's also a universe where Nebraska.
I feel
the
there's
bottom
like
falls
10
out.
Big Ten teams that could be 10
Well,
and 2.
but that's USC too because USC. I mean, trust us. We've been talking about this all offseason. There is a universe where USC is struggling for bowl eligibility again, and there's a universe where USC is 10 and 2.
How bummed are you guys that appeal didn't go through for that offensive lineman?
Quite, especially because guess what happened today?
Well, what happened today?
West Virginia got all of their guys.
What?
Got the injunction in a
Oh
West
my
Virginia
God.
court on the exact same argument that USC was making. Well, that Wingfield was making for himself.
We're all making.
Sounds rumpy.
Yeah, it
pumpy.
sucks. It
That sounds
sucks.
rumpy-pumpy.
And the appeals, it'll take too long for it to matter for Wingfield or you see.
I wanted my wide receiver guy, but I'm actually kind of glad that you didn't get your lineman guy.
Well.
Go ahead.
I just want to jump in really quick about SC.
Please.
I wrote this out for some notes. Of the 6 losses last year, 3 came on touchdowns in the final minute. 1 came in overtime to a playoff team. 1 came after being stopped on a goal line stand in the final minute. And the last one saw USC driving to tie against the college football playoff runner-up with 4 minutes left in the game. They led 11 of 12 regular season games in the fourth quarter. All they have to do is get 2% better.
The James Franklin of the West Coast, right there.
They just got to
mean-
get 2% better, and then they can be the 10 and 2 chalk team that beats
Yes.
everybody but Oregon and Penn State.
But who's playing on your line?
Oregon and
That
Notre
is
Dame.
why I'm not predicting
But,
10
like-
and 2 for USC.
But that just seems like a lot of ifs.
Mikey, do you have who are your playoff teams that you think might make it, other than the Oregons, the Penn States, and the Ohio State?
I got Indiana and Illinois. I like what they're returning. I do like their quarterback play. I also think that they do have favorable schedules, but just on their tail, and again, a lot of these teams can just fall or rise. Right behind them, I have Nebraska and Michigan, but at the same time, I have after the top 3. I have 12 teams that could probably be anywhere. And that's just like kind of like looking chalk, like you should win this, but that doesn't always happen, especially in the Big Ten, heated rivalries, random, how is USC struggling against Maryland?
Yes.
How is Penn State
Struggling
against
Bowling Green.
Purdue, but yeah, I think Indiana is probably that one to maybe get in there. Illinois right behind them. I don't think they're as strong as what I have their records at, but I think again, I think their schedules are favorable in that regard.
Jim, how about you?
Let's start off by saying none of us know crap.
None.
No.
We just don't know.
Nothing.
I mean,
Can we say it properly, Jim? We've been saying
we don't
all
know
off
shit.
season. All we know is that we don't know nothing.
There you go.
Very true.
Last year, who would have predicted Indiana, SMU, Arizona State in the playoffs? Nobody.
SMU had a 5-point win over Nevada in week 0 last year.
Impressive.
Like, no one at that time was saying, yeah, SMU's a playoff team. Like,
Right. So
There's no doubt.
The point is, there's going to be somebody, maybe even multiple teams, that we have no idea, teams we least expect, who are going to show up this year and make the playoff. It's going to happen. We can't predict it. But in answer to your question, I only have 2 locks in the Big Ten.
Oh,
I
okay.
only have Ohio State and Penn State.
Yeah.
I don't consider Oregon a lock. But I'll put Oregon right there as a second
That's
tier,
possible.
along with Washington. Those are the 2 that I'm picking.
And
if
tell me about-
if I only could pick 2.
Tell me why are you so up on the Dogs?
I love their quarterback. He's terrific, and I believe in Jed Fish. I think Jed Fish is a good coach. What he did at Arizona was tremendous. They got better each year. Maybe they'd still be good if they were still there, but he had a little learning curve last year at Washington. But they've got talent.
And the big thing about Washington this year is that they play Ohio State and they play Oregon and they play at Michigan. Of those games, which one do you think they're going to be able to? How are they going to do in those games, particularly?
I think they could win 2 out of those 3.
See, and then that would put them right in your spot. That
I
you're
think they
saying.
get Ohio State at home in Seattle. I'm pretty
okay.
sure.
Okay.
They are tough in Seattle.
And
Yes.
the travel
Very
thing,
tough.
traveling to
travel
across
west,
the country,
yeah.
has been an issue.
That
right?
could be Ohio State's loss right there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's it for part 1 of this episode. It ended up being 2 hours long, so we're going to split it into 2. Join us for the next episode on the feed. Raina Troy and Jim the Godfather Bendat join What's Bruin Show. And until next time, which will be 5 minutes from now when you listen to this episode in your feed, go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Oh my God.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, bro, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.